Hello and welcome to another iteration of Tears Don't Fall, the show where we subject one another to a band's entire discography on the back of Luke's pick of Devon Townsend Project the week before last, and your pick, community choice pick of Dragon Force. Last week, I decided to take us somewhere decidedly more grungy, grimy, darker, dirty, stinky, many things, polar opposites of the shiny power metal.
Yes.
That we were looking at last week. Of course,
which I did
Slipknot.
win the championship belt for.
You did win the championship belt for that. Well done. Good for you.
Luke motherfucking Ashley cannot be stopped.
Oh, you motherfucker. When he showed up with props, I was very nervous. I didn't know where he was going with this, and now I feel like I understand, and I'm hating it already, and I feel like the worst is yet to come. Okay, so I'm really excited for this one, because I feel like this is a band that heaps of people will have some kind of association with, be it positive or negative. Slipknot, it's hard not to have an opinion on. And I'm excited to hear people's opinions on it. Especially if you're a fan, especially if you're not a fan. Before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about where we're coming to this from. I obviously picked the band, so I'm a fan, but I want to know where you're coming from first and foremost.
All right, I'll just take the championship down for a second. Don't get too close to it, Connor. I'm going to be keeping this one tonight.
Can I look at it?
No.
Okay.
Maybe next week.
God, I hope so.
You can see your reflection in it as I wear it again.
No.
Now, where I come from, Slipknot. Slipknot are quite a ubiquitous band. Growing up, I would have been about 10 when Slipknot's self-titled drop. No, even younger, perhaps. They've penetrated pop culture from their release, so it's hard to avoid Slipknot. They've been a fair constant in my life, even before I was into metal. Through different soundtracks in movies, games, they've penetrated media in a very impressive fashion. I didn't get on board the Slipknot train until about 2008 when All Hope Is Gone dropped. And I was fortunate enough to catch them twice in that touring cycle live. Both times were incidental. One was at a festival, and one they were headlining for the show. I was there for the openers. But both times they put on an excellent live show. Wonderful performers. Cannot be argued. And that's about my experience with Slipknot. It's fairly shallow. I don't, as ever present as they are in my life, I'd never sat down with Slipknot albums and listened them through, especially under any sort of analysis.
Okay.
So this has been a very, I've been tackling all of this for the first time, essentially. Yeah.
Wow, cool. All right. Well, okay, Slipknot, for me, were one of the first modern heavy metal bands I can recall getting into. One of the very early instances of me finding a band that was current and really, really digging their stuff at about 15 years of age. Before that, the couple of years prior, I'd started getting into heavy metal, or I'd been exposed to it through the Guitar Hero franchise. The first two games had Ozzy Osbourne and stuff like that on there, so I kind of gravitated to Ozzy and Iron Maiden and stuff that had a decent sense of melody. But at about 15 or just before, a friend introduced me to Korn, and that was the first kind of instance of a modern current metal band, and my first instance of finding something that was like it got me at the right time. The angst, their brand of angst, really grabbed me at the right time. About a year later, so I'm 15, and I was in a class that the teacher hadn't shown up, and the substitute teacher didn't really care, wasn't really offering anything, so it was just like, just do your work and don't fucking break anything, that kind of thing. So I just sat there. It was a class where I didn't have any other friends. I was quite a shy kid, so I just sat there with my headphones in, going through my MP4 player at the time. And despite getting into heavier stuff, I still had a soft spot for catchy kind of poppy hooks and choruses and stuff.
Yep.
So I was sitting there and I was listening to Fall Out Boy. A Fall Out Boy song was playing. And just at that moment, one of the, I guess, equivalent of a jock kid in Australia, a very sporty kid who I knew to be a bit of a bully, asked me, like, "Oi, what are you listening to?"
Yeah.
And I just panicked immediately. And I can't recall whether or not I bullshitted. I definitely told him something. I think maybe I would have just shown him the thing because I knew him to be a bit of a bully and I didn't want to invite any ire or ridicule or make it a bigger deal than it needed to be. And whatever I said got a bit of a smirk, but no ridicule, so sweet. And then one of the other kids, another kid who I knew also to be quite a bully and someone who I was quite intimidated by, asked, "Well, what was you listening to?" And this kid said whatever I was listening to. I don't know. But again, no bullshit. So I was like, okay, sweet. And I kind of sunk back into my chair. Lucky that they started talking with each other about bands and I was no longer the focus of the conversation. So I was just grateful. But I was listening and they started talking about bands and I was curious what they were listening to. I think it was like Eminem and some pop acts. Nothing wrong with that. But then one of them goes, "Oh, have you heard Slipknot?" And the other guy's like, "Nah, fuck that, man." And immediately the dismissals start coming. And I'm getting more and more interested because I knew the name, but I didn't know their music or anything. Yeah, what they did. I can recall a kid sending a picture of Slipknot on MSN Messenger when I was like 12.
Okay, yeah.
And me and my friend at the time being like, "What are these guys, Kiss?" We were wrong, turns out.
No, they're not Kiss, they're backwards, they're sick.
Yeah, there you go. And as these dudes are dismissing the band, they're like, "Nah, they're freaks, they're weird, I don't get it." Finally, one of them goes, "Man, they're kind of scary." Fucking bingo. I immediately was like, okay, I'm looking this up as soon as I got home. I got home, I looked up this band, and it was like this trial by fire for my ears. It was the heaviest, most aggressive, most abrasive thing I'd heard up to that point. But I reveled in it. I loved it. I felt welcomed by it because it was this music. It was music to scare the people who scared me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I felt a sense of belonging in that music, and not just the music or because of the band members themselves, but the immediately you see that their fans are called maggots and stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm a maggot. Like I have this musical family that I can relate to.
Yeah.
On some fundamental level of just being like, oh yeah, fuck me, shit.
Yeah.
That was enough, and that was really exciting for me. And I've been a fan ever since.
Beautiful.
So I fucking adore this band.
Nice.
So going back to their stuff has been interesting. They're a band that I like so much and I have such a fond memories of that I don't go back to them as much as I would more recent favourites, because like the Black Dahlia Murder or even Lamb of God, because I kind of don't want to fuck with those memories. I'm scared that I'm going to discover that they're not that good or I don't really like them that much. I'm wearing this shirt. This I bought when I was later that year, 15. This was my first heavy metal shirt. This is my first band shirt. It's even got, you can see, there it is. It's got a little hole in it where one of my sisters cut a little hole in it because they were young at the time, didn't understand what they were doing.
And you're like, no!
Had some scissors, and I was like, oh man.
It's okay. But it makes it yours now.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes it unique.
It's got history. It's got a story.
That's it. That's more important.
And I imagine my story is fucking not uncommon and probably one of the tamer ones. I'm sure this band has meant a lot more to a lot of people. But yeah, coming back to this was interesting. And I'm keen to share my thoughts with all of y'all.
Beautiful, so am I.
With that said, shall we get into it?
Yes, please.
Alrighty.
Would you like to take the reins?
I would love to take the reins. First album. Thank you very much for the follows, by the way. Star
Thanks, guys.
Matthew and Fed. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I can see some maggots in chat already. This is very exciting. Okay.
Awesome.
So first album. The self-titled debut comes out in 1999. This was, again, the first album of theirs that I checked out. I downloaded a handful of tracks on LimeWire, or maybe it might have been FrostWire at the time. I think LimeWire might have gone under by then. Anyway, coming back to this album, I expected to rank it quite low. I was expecting to rank it around the middle tier. But man, this album feels like coming home. to me. Yeah, it the home in this case looking like the house from the fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But like each song is this dingy, dirty little trinket that I have some memory or an echo of something associated with it. And the fondness makes it really hard to see any inherent flaws in this album as flaws. I find it all really charming. But I'll do my best to justify the things I like about this album. It's an S for me. I think it's an S tier album. The production is raw and serves to heighten the chaos that this album kind of revels in, and I think it makes it all the more compelling. It walks a fine line, I think, managing to sound hectic and as though you're there in the room with the band without being hard to listen to by today's standards, at least for my ears. It's as though it was recorded in the house with the band, but not in the toilet. It recorded in one of the nicer rooms, in the lounge room, perhaps. I think...
Like the Duality video, basically. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, totally. And I think it lends a sense of cohesion to the album. I think the album is certainly front-loaded with the more immediate classics. I mean, the first 6 tracks of the album is like live staple after live staple. It's fucking unreal. But I think the back half is just as absorbing, if less memorable. I think this is thanks largely in part to the performances. There's a sense of urgency and an intensity and an insistence in this album, as though they're playing for their lives. And I think it all reinforces a purposefulness, a sense of purpose that makes this album endure and makes it such an auspicious debut. I fucking love this record. And I was really excited to come back to it and to feel that way. Again, looking at the track listing, because, again, the back half of this album isn't as immediately memorable as the first half. I was kind of struggling to recall tracks like Prosthetics or Diluted and going, they're probably stinky. I'm probably not going to have much fun with them. But I think they're just not quite as hooky or quite as...
They feel like a deep cut.
They're deep
really,
cuts. Yeah.
They still do.
I think they still serve the whole, and I mean, in terms of we were talking in the Discord the other day. Regan asked asked the room, I guess, what
constitutes an S.
What constitutes an S rank album for them? And I was saying that I haven't nailed a criteria that is applicable to all bands. But I'd say pacing and cohesion is something that I place a lot of value in, and there's usually some kind of X factor at play on what I would say is an S tier album. Again, a sense of vitality that places it above, a cut above the rest. And I think more often than not, that factor is reflected in the reception of that album at the time and how we look back on that album. And I mean, this was Roadrunner's first platinum record, and Jesus, people are still coming back to it and celebrating it years on. It's in that one of the 1,001 albums to listen to before you die. Like that's a collection of so many other records, and this has a place in there. Encouraging the everyman to check this album out. I think that's really special. That's
beautiful.
That's my case.
Yeah, awesome. Regarding S tier rankings, for myself, I was ruminating on this as well. I don't have I'm not able to fully quantify what each rank means for me. Sometimes the rankings are a little more relative to the artist, but ultimately, I believe an S can't come without some sort of glowing recommendation. If I was to play something, even if an album is head and shoulders above the rest of the catalog, maybe it isn't necessarily an S, because I wouldn't give it a glowing recommendation for myself.
Sure.
And I'd say it's excellent for the band, but due to it, like I couldn't endorse this, therefore I don't think it would land as an S. So let's talk the Slipknot album. I think it's one of their best albums. But I don't think it works very well as an album.
Okay.
What this record does, it does excellently as single bites, not a full meal. I feel many of the tracks serve a very similar purpose through this record, at least for the front half. It feels like it's just single territory again and again and again and again. And due to that, I'm going to be slapping this one at a C. It's pretty low, really. And there are a few reasons for this. Just as I can't put anything at an S above a glowing recommendation, if I'm not going to ever put this album on, I can't justify putting it in B. If I'm not going to ever go back to a record and listen to it, I don't think it belongs anywhere B or above. And that's where this album exists.
Sure.
I still hear this album spun regularly, or at least singles from this album spun so regularly through radio, even TV, internet. It is truly ubiquitous. It is everywhere. And I have no need to ever put this record on because I already am too flooded with this record as it is, just through my everyday media consumption.
Sure.
I think that this is a really solid set of songs, but to consume it as an album is a slog.
Sure.
They're really, the tracks on the front half really do most of the same thing over and over and over. There isn't much variance. And the percussion sounds fucking horrible. Honestly, I don't understand how Jordison's signature snare sounds so great and works so well live. And Jordison's actual snare with Slipknot is honestly, I think, laughable.
On this album specifically or in general?
Well, we're discussing this album at the moment, so let's focus on an album-to-album basis.
Yeah, sure.
It is so punishing that it completely ruins any enjoyment I get out of the percussive elements, which is very unfortunate because Slipknot holds percussion above melody and harmony. A third of their bands, if not 3-4 members, percussive members, 3 members, you'd say.
Yeah.
But then there's someone who does primarily scratch work, which is more of a percussive tool than melodic or harmonic. Got someone that's running samples, which are often more percussive as well. So really, that's at this point 5 members that are, in a sense, that are serving primarily percussive focus. And I don't find it aesthetically pleasing. I don't find it interesting. I find it really, really immature and cheap. What it does serve, it does date this record, but I don't think it ages it poorly. I think it's a stand-up citizen for 1999 metal. And in the name new metal, you're instantly dating yourself. If you call anything new in the title... It's not going to be new in 6 months, cunt.
It's going to be old in 6 months. Yeah, gotcha.
So I feel like the genre is begging to be buried. But I don't know if the bands themselves coined these terms or, no, it's not new, it's new.
I think...
Yeah.
I feel like that's...
I know.
That's got to be...
I see. That's very clever. They go, oh, yeah, guys, remember, it's new metal, not new. Yeah, very clever. Yeah, well done. You can't spell sick. Yeah, that's plus points for you. I don't need to listen to this album ever again.
Sure.
And I don't find the lyrics engaging. I don't find them clever. I don't understand why Corey Taylor is so celebrated as a vocalist at this point in his career, at least. When he does his more ASMR, dulcet, soft-spoken material, I find it really cringy. I don't find it romantic, but I feel like this album just isn't built for me. I don't feel like I'm the target audience.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with Slipknot. I think that's something that attracted me to it. I mean, that is absolutely what attracted me to it, is you're either on board with it or you're not. In the case of what I was saying earlier, it was the fact that these people who made me nervous and scare me, didn't like this music is what made me check it out.
But I feel like that seems a little incidental to me. It's not
sure.
It's not on the merit of Slipknot.
I think
it's just that happened to be the band, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like,
I feel like that could be attributed to any band.
Of course.
Like,
but I
right
think,
place, right time.
Yeah, but I think Slipknot, absolutely. But that's why they hold a significant place in my musical tastes, my library.
Yeah, certainly.
But I'm thinking more like that's kind of been their MO just in general. And I think it comes through, especially on subsequent releases, the like, fuck you if you don't like this sort of thing. You know?
There's this attitude that pervades all of Slipknot's catalogue of, if you don't like this, we don't like you.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to listen to this, we don't want you to listen to this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is front and center.
Yeah, and I think that
this music is not for you.
No,
is what they're really getting across. Like, we are not your kind. You know, They're saying like this is for the maggots, not for anyone else.
For sure.
And so if you're not in the family, you're being relegated.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling pretty relegated.
Well, I feel welcome in the family home, as grubby as it is. Shall we see what chat thinks?
Certainly.
Stage presence. Riz says, stage presence is one of the most engaging aspects for me of Slipknot. I'll always pick a live video over a music video. Oliver is gaming. Thank you very much for dropping in.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing a lot of new faces in here, really.
Yeah.
Or faces we haven't seen in a while as well.
Star Matthew says, Purity was a track I loved in middle school. 30-year-old, by the way. Fuck yeah, dude.
Nice.
Good one. Oh, wow. So you would have been around on the
ground floor.
Yeah, on the ground floor for first Beautiful. Album. That's great. That's something to brag about. Let's have a look. Skinny Brother, how you doing, dude? Slipknot, I'm a maggot. You have a Slipknot tattoo, dude. That's sick.
Nice.
So Matthew says, I'm from Missouri, USA, and having an Iowan band just north of me was so cool. That's fucking cool, dude. Having 9 members stick together for so long is incredible. Yeah, for sure. It's. I mean, it's hard enough keeping 4 or 5 people.
I was considering this as well. Yeah, it's. Considering how they had a business model set up from the get-go as well, how every member was on a wage, essentially. They do run this really as a separate entity.
It's a tight ship.
It is a real separate entity to their own characters. I mean, they are their own. They do become different characters when they put on the masks. They are not them. So I think that may attribute to to their lengthened fraternity that they share.
Yeah, for sure. Rid says, C tier for me. Even when I frothed these guys in school, I was never really able to engage with this album outside of a few tracks. Fair enough. Adam says, they certainly commanded attention when this album came out. There was Korn, Manson, etc., but not definitely stood out. I was reading some reviews from the time, and they all kind of said that. They were all like, we know we've been popping off about Korn, but shit. Connor, would you say the self-titled album is sick? This is going to get so old so fast, but yes. Would you say it's like an extended demo, says Matthew? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat, which we're not touching with a fucking 10-foot barge pole.
97?
Is more like an extended demo.
Yeah.
Interesting duality of opinion. God damn it! I agree with Luke. It's got some great songs on it, but seems so incoherent and all over the place for me to sit and listen to in full. Fair enough. It's not up to snuff. Son of a bitch! Matthew says, is the snare Saint Anger bad?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I feel like Metallica were inspired by Slipknot on Saint Anger.
Well,
and it's it really shows, and it's really unfortunate. So you can thank Slipknot.
Our friend in the Discord, Lucas, pointed out that he had never heard the comparison until listening to Slipknot for this.
I believe it was Iowa in particular.
Yeah, listening to My Play, I think, heard
and
it
yes,
in
we're calling it Iowa. It's not Iowa.
It's Iowa.
Because
it's new and it's Iowa. This is becoming a bit of a disaster piece. Son of a bitch. I got a tattoo shop Corey went to, and they had a pic of him on the wall. He got a neck on him. Wow.
Yes.
Got him
yeah,
a
he
neck
does have
tattoo. Yeah, cool. Thick neck. He
Yeah,
does have a
real
thick neck.
Mm-hmm.
Havoc, welcome to the chat, by the
Welcome,
way.
baby.
I have so many fond memories of Slipknot associated with Havoc, by the way.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we both saw Slipknot live for the first time together.
Yeah.
Wonderful memories. I believe that was both our first time. And thank you very much for the subscription, Havoc.
Mm-hmm. Cheers,
Let's have a look here. The scent of Slipknot brings boys to the yard. Some boys, Daggett. Bianca, this album is S
quite
tier for
pungent.
me as well. Even though the percussion sounds shallow and stuff, I love the grittiness and the roughness of it. Will Luke give an album an S tier? All hope is gone. Oh my god!
How ominous.
Matthew's triggered by your Iowa pronouncing. So
yes.
funny.
There's a reason for that.
Before I forget, god damn it, are we going to talk about how they formed as a band by making it a place for them to release all their rage and aggression out? I feel like that's I mean, we're listening to it now, and he's literally just screaming and babbling into the mic at the end of Scissors. It's pretty obvious. Self-titled is my fave, basically. Good one, dude.
I was fortunate on this record. I do want to say this is a really high C. I ranked this album at an A before going into this week's TDF.
Yeah, I think
I expected this to be far... When you said you expected this to be far lower than it was, I expected this album to sit far higher.
Yeah, right.
And I really do enjoy... I just want to say I really do enjoy a lot of... I pretty much every track of this record I like.
Yeah?
It just doesn't work together. It's like you can have your three favorite flavors.
Yeah.
But when you put them in a cake together, they might not work. And that's what happens here.
Sure. And this cake ain't working for you.
Yeah. Even stuff like even material like prosthetics, which I feel is probably the Clown's doing, is likely Sean's doing.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff on here that smells like Clown.
I saw that live. Was fortunate enough to in 2008 at Rod Laver Arena, I believe.
Very cool. Yeah, that was 2008.
Yeah, and stuff like that was wonderful. It was really cool live. Right now, at their debut, this is a remarkable debut release. I've got to celebrate that
for sure.
And I think the immaturity here suits them for a debut release.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. All right, shall we move on?
Yep.
Album 2, baby. Iowa. We're pronouncing it Iowa. Okay, so this is an album that makes good on its promise of being heavier than the first in every regard. Like, often when bands say, yeah, man, heavier this time, it comes out and it's just simply not. And it's usually a bit shitter. The production is bigger and darker sounding. The playing is more intricate and intense. The performances feel more violent. The album, as a whole, feels vitriolic. And there's more experimentation on offer on tracks like Skin Ticket, Gently, and the closing title track. And, I mean, in terms of live staples and just heavy metal staples, songs that are ubiquitous with heavy metal as a genre. I mean, People Equal Shit, Heretic Anthem, Jesus Christ, the singles Left Behind in My Plague. There's really not a song on this album that I don't appreciate in some way, shape, or form. I think the sense of... Well, you know what? Let me reveal my ranking.
Oh.
A. I put this at an A.
Yep.
Because I was saying there's not a song on this album that the title track, the aforementioned title track, feels kind of bloated.
Only 15 minutes long?
Yeah. I can say that I have never looked forward to hearing that song. It's on their live album. They play like 6 minutes of it, and even that feels like too much. I really don't... it's not even that I don't get what they were going for on this song. I think they achieved what they set out to do on this song
what did they
and this
set out
album.
to do?
Well, I think the sense of the sense of purpose that is present on the debut is here, but it seems to have been turned and aimed at everyone and anything, including like whether you like them or not. They're taking aim at you, and it extends to even themselves. This recording process being cited as one of the darkest times in the band's history, and I think it shows.
Taylor was battling a lot of alcoholism. At the time.
It shows in the final product.
Yeah.
The album conjures this almost suffocating atmosphere. that is so prevalent and so effective that I find it hard to listen to in full. I don't come back to this album very regularly to listen to it in full, because by the end of it I'm just like, oh, I need to go look at some flowers or something, man. And I kind of took my personal enjoyment into account here. I was gonna rank it as an S because I think it's a marvel in just how well it achieves what it sets out to do, which is just punish the listener, whether you're on board or not. I think that's something pretty wild. But will I come back to it to listen to it in full? Not with any regularity. I still think it's a phenomenal album. I still think it's for a sophomore release to do this when it seems like they could have been set up to fail. They could have fallen flat on their face here and dropped the ball, and I don't think they did.
I think they did.
I thought you might. We've talked about this album. We've talked about this album before. And you've always alluded to it as being your least favorite, or an album that you've never seen the appeal of.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to the first album in that you're either on board with it or you're not. That permeates their entire discography, but here it is loud and clear. It's in the lyrics. It's in the album's DNA.
It is, and this album's DNA is I owe, because Corey Taylor should be thinking, I owe an hour to everyone who listened to this piece of shit, dude. The only use for this CD should be as a pizza cutter, because this album is all edge and no point. It is a disaster piece. D. This album fucking sucks. You know, it doesn't take much to punish a listener, right? It's not a feat. It's not a marvel to punish a listener.
Sure.
What is hard to do is impress a listener. It's easy to put anything out and go, oh yeah, this is hard to listen to. Look, that's not something of note. For you to say that you're not going to return to this album.
I will return to this album.
How does that make it an A? That's ridiculous, Connor. That's crazy.
Because it does impress me. The playing impresses me. I think the
playing impresses you?
Yeah.
The playing impresses you? The note choice could really be anything else. It doesn't matter because there is no anchor point between the melody and the harmony. Any melodic note choice is almost irrelevant because the harmonic material that supports it is so erratic and does not relate to what's presented on its other facets that everything is living in its own bubble, and I feel like the parts don't really interact with one another on a musical level. Everything is so percussive driven and rhythmically driven, which when it comes to if something's so driven on a percussive level like this, I want them to play with time signatures. I want them to be inventive. Here they play with their sound a lot rather than taking that angle, and that's just a personal preference for me. I can understand if people like it the other way, and that's completely valid. For me, I find it really I find it not as creative as a 4-year-old making a monstrosity out of Lego and Play-Doh and going, oh, well, no one's ever done that before.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Sick. No one wants that. Is how I would respond. But if it resonates with you, then fine. You know, you can have your 4-year-old Duplo.
Thank you. And I mean, like, enjoy. The premise of this is our own subjective rankings. I still rank it an A. I don't think you're wrong in anything that you just said, but it all resonates with me. It all resonates with me on a deep level.
I find it so fucking embarrassing that 9 grown men labored over this album, and this was the release. This is what they came up with. 9 grown men, musicians, artists. This was the end result. I think that's really embarrassing. If they were teenagers and hadn't realized their how to write songs yet, I think that would make more sense.
Okay.
To go from I appreciate certain aspects. I appreciate the non-traditional songwriting. I think that's really cool. But they go about it in a really weak way, like a really embarrassing way. I feel embarrassed for people who enjoy this album. I don't get it, and I guess you've got to start somewhere. And maybe if you're in the right space, the right place, the right time, starting on a musical journey, and this is what happens, sure. But don't keep this gate, dude. Move on. Find something better, because I'm entirely unimpressed by what's happening here. People Equal Shit, My Plague, and Heretic Anthem. I suppose you can see merits in those being anthemic or people relating to that, but even then, man, like, the start of Disaster Piece, Corey Taylor's lyrics are fucking embarrassing. Like, how is this celebrated, dude? How is it is like he's going for shock value and to
I think so.
alienate as many people as possible?
Yeah.
That's not, but you can do that so easily. That isn't hard to do. I don't understand why that's celebrated. Is it because it's?
I think it's a right place, right time kind of thing.
I think so as well.
Yeah. And I think
because
it's a right place,
take
right time thing for
that much skill.
I think me rating
to write edgy lyrics.
I think me rating this album so highly and still maintaining, like, I still feel the same about this album. I still really like this album. It holds a special place in my heart. I think is because it got me at the right place and the right time. And I formed friendships around this album. And again, I said this when we were doing Devin Townsend Project. I'm a dum-dum when it comes to music theory. Like, all the things that you're mentioning, over my head.
Like,
honestly,
it's just,
honestly.
I don't...
So all of the things that you're mentioning, I'm like, that has never stood out to me. I've never even thought about that while listening to this.
I think it's partially my own...
I can't say that I can't disagree with you on any of those counts, though, because again, I'm uneducated when it comes to what you're talking about.
It's partially I think me boxing myself in to enjoy music in a certain way or a certain style, but ultimately they are packaging this as a commercial album, and I will judge it as a commercial album, not an experimental album.
Sure.
Because they are Roadrunner's biggest artist at this point. Surely.
You can say export.
But like they are a very commercial band, and the artistic elements. I feel a bit of a clash between what is truly experimenting and what is this sort of pseudo experimentation for marketability.
Sure.
I don't know if that comes.
No. I think Iowa.
But I really don't
track.
know.
I think the title track is the biggest offender of the faux arty, or for ease of phrasing, farty. Aspects of this album.
Yeah, but maybe it is like they are just raw and expressing it. I just don't connect with it.
Yeah,
and I feel so like this album does not want me to listen to it, and I do not want to listen to it.
Yeah, I think
like we're at a straight impasse, and we are happy being on opposite sides of the fence. There we shall stay forever.
Yeah. Well, there we shall also stay. At least
don't touch me. Don't touch
me. Stinky handshake. But I'm glad to have heard, like, because every time we've talked about this album, you've kind of had this like an inkling as to why you dislike it, but haven't put it into such words before. I appreciate hearing exactly where you're coming from.
I spun this record many times over the week, and I liked it less and less every time I heard it, and I felt I kept... Well, really, it came down to I felt like there was this depth that was unattainable for me that I hadn't seen yet, and I had to keep exploring it to access it. But the more I listened to it, the more Corey Taylor's vocals stood out, and I guess the less the music resonated with me, the more I tried to approach this album from a different angle. And I went, maybe it's in the lyrics, like I'll take it like a hip hop or a rap release, and focus on the narrative. What? No! Oh my god, it's worse! It's worse than it was before! Holy fuck!
That's so
you
funny.
Fucking man baby! Jesus Christ! Oh my god! Please move on.
Okay, sure.
Oh.
No. We got to check what chat thinks. Let's have a look here. The drugs hit hard, and they hit hard on this album. We talking Iowa for this one? Come on, that album cover is amazing. I do like the goat, and I really like the Iowa, like the red title. It's a very aesthetically pleasing cover. Brandon puts this at S. Adam said Left Behind hooked me in big time to Slipknot. Rid says Iowa's B tier for me. The front half of this is what I spun some of most of during high school, but going back to it, I feel like it leaves me cringing and feeling edgy, especially in terms of the lyrics. Yeah, I don't cringe. It's absolutely edgy, but I kind of
me not having this as any point of nostalgia reference absolutely kills this. I think is the thing.
Rid says in regards to the title track, 15 minutes, new prog, baby. Yeah, dude.
Oh god. You're not wrong.
Yeah, totally. Havoc says to me, I would have to have Iowa A, Volume 3A, the latest C. Cool. Right. Matthew says, I grew up in a hardcore Christian homeschool environment, so I was late to Slipknot, which made it more appropriate for my teenage angst. Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine it being like this edgy, disgusting oasis.
Yeah, this feels like a period piece.
Sure.
Where you look into the minds of madness of the turn of the millennium.
It is a snapshot.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
But it's a snapshot that I really fucking like.
Yeah. So you go, geez, maybe, I miss MTV, and you put this on. I don't miss MTV.
Luke's being a critical darling. Luke's not long for this world. Son of a bitch. I think I'm going to make myself some pears and custard. Adam, you are reaching at this point. Really is the negative one. I was going to make that joke later. Fuck you. Agree with Luke's playing impresses you argument. Matthew, you don't find the playing impressive? I guess when I say... We've talked about this before, but I tend to zero in on vocals and drums first and foremost. And the drumming, I think, on this album, Joey Jordison's drumming on this album is just insane. I haven't tried to model my own playing on it. It didn't inspire me in that way, but I think the sheer amount of shit he's playing, I think, is really impressive.
Yeah, coming to this as a percussive-minded person is going to change.
3 drums!
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and there isn't much to gain in the guitar work. I'm really not fond of how dark the tones on this record are.
Sure.
And on the first release as well.
Okay. I think you'd have to be psychosocial to put this in D tier, honestly. I find the self-titled album 100% worse than Iowa. Okay. I'm worried about the grey chapter now. Guess I better be prepared for hell. I can't tell which of these comments are sincere and which are just taking the piss. Luke is gonna override the system and go lower than D. Is that another reference? I don't get that one. Matthew says, guessing Subliminal Verses will be Luke's favourite. It's an amazing album, and I get it though, but disagree. Okay. Either what you think, clown banging on a keg with a baseball bat is audio genius. Brian, I'm so sorry. Brian was kind enough to share his rankings earlier and rated Iowa at an S.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, we got the same ranking.
Yeah. I may just be cringing because I think of myself when I loved that album. Yeah, I think I think I was lucky enough to never wear my my passions on my sleeve quite so hard that I got one of Corey Taylor's lyrics tattooed on my body or anything like that. Like I aged out of it enough that I'm able to look back and find the first album charming and still I guess tap into the place that I was when I really connected with Iowa, but not feel guilty because it didn't do any damage.
You don't want to get I want to slit your throat and fuck the wound. Want to push my face in and feel the swoon?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Yikes.
I'll say right now, Grey Chapter is my favourite Slipknot album. All right, so that was a sincere comment. Thank you. There is a song called Override. All right, well, good.
Yeah,
good.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Connor.
Keep them coming, chat. These are wonderful. These are delightful.
Face tattoo right there. Yeah, fucking A.
Yeah.
I've got enough space. Look at that. Hey, Mano, how you doing, dude?
Yo, hey, legends.
All right, shall we move on?
Yes.
All right. And chat, don't forget, your comments are wonderful, but we'd love to hear your ranking. Give it a letter if you can. Volume 3, the Subliminal Verses. This album sees that the overall darkness dialed back and replaced with a sense of maturity, I think. The songwriting and the song structures feel simultaneously more intricate and thought out, and more accessible without losing out on the aggression that they're kind of known for at this point. This is still an exciting and visceral sounding album. The heavier moments, I think, feel all the more effective with the softer moments to contrast them. And I think the softer tracks also have enough of the atmosphere that they're known for to still feel like Slipknot. Doesn't feel like, I think, I hear comparisons or people go, Volume 3 onwards is just Stone Sour 2. I disagree. And I think the sense of purpose that was on the first two albums and felt downright spiteful on Iowa here feels once again redirected to be more of a celebration of everything that Slipknot is, including the fans. Their anger feels like it's shining, as something more positive and more productive. Each track feels like it has something to offer, and I think it makes for an incredibly rich, diverse, and rewarding listening experience. I think this album is a triumph. I rate it as an S. Those are my thoughts.
Sure.
I want to hear yours, baby.
I don't disagree with anything you've got there, Cons. What Volume 3 has that the others don't is they've started to grow the fuck up a little. We've gone, we're essentially 2 bands worth of members here. Surely we can write a cohesive album. Maybe now we have years of experience. We've toured all over the world.
Can I say one thing on the back of that? Absolutely agree with the growing the fuck up thing, because you'll notice in the lyrics, no swearing on this album. And then they say bitch and bastard. That's it, and that was a conscious effort on Corey's part. Going, okay, like one of the biggest criticisms leveled at me is that I use cursing in lieu of anything intelligent or poetic to say. So here he leans into metaphors and some actual lyricism, which is really fucking appreciated. And I think it makes for some more interesting vocal phrasings and stuff. It keeps things sounding fresh.
Yeah,
go continue.
The definitive Slipknot album for their gimmick approach. And yes, it is a gimmick. Don't you tell me that almost everything Slipknot does is not a gimmick. This album does not fall prey to it as hard, and that is a big plus. A lot of the explicit content warning, as if it's the biggest badge of pride that they have, isn't all over this cover, and I really appreciate that. As an album to consume, this was a real pleasure. I had this album ranked very low before I jumped into this week's listening, and this album is a champion of their early sound. And I guess for some they'd say this is maybe a later sound. It takes a lot of what didn't work in the first few albums and rejigs it. The flow of the album is wonderful. They introduce more elements. There is more diversity through their dynamic range. Electronic elements are a little more stripped back, and acoustic elements are brought in way to this album's benefit. And it maintains to me that anger and that frustration and that edginess, but in a way that it doesn't detract from what they're doing. It doesn't feel like you go, okay, I don't need to. I don't need to place myself back to when I was 15 to understand their ire.
Yeah, sure.
Here, I think it still shines through, and it has aged very well. I don't think there's a single bad track on this album, or even a single average track on this album. I was surprised how consistent this was. And
so was I.
The only reason that this album is not an S is because I couldn't give it that glowing recommendation label. Because I think this album has the X factor for an S. It's just my personal taste. Okay. I wouldn't put it there.
Okay, sure.
Because under the idea that there are no bad songs, every song works with the other, this has everything to be an S outside of I simply don't enjoy Slipknot sound. I don't enjoy the percussive elements. And how they wash out so much of the rest of the band.
Okay, yeah.
But that's a stylistic choice for them, and that's a stylistic choice for me.
Yeah. So, and again, these lists are our own personal, based very much on our personal preferences.
Yeah. But as far as a Slipknot album can go, I think this is the definitive, without a doubt.
Yeah, cool.
What else can I say on this? Vermilion is fucking beautiful, dude. I can see how this would be so life-changing for people to come in on this record in particular, or be fans of Slipknot, and then for this to come out, I'm actually envious of not having that experience. Yeah. Because that would have been incredible to watch the massive mainstream success that came from this, and the maybe validation that a lot of people would have. Perhaps other people felt slighted, as you said, Stone Sour 2. Yeah. And being like, oh no, now this is this is Slipknot for everyone else, whereas Iowa is mine alone to hold. And I guess that can be true. The nostalgic experience and the duality of those two, really.
I think the fact that this album is so inviting, it feels like a reward for the people who supported them through Iowa and through the first album. Like, it feels again like a real celebration of the Slipknot, the maggots, everything. Yeah. I mean, to the point where I'm pretty sure the mask on the front cover is the maggot mask that was supposed to represent their fans. And
I'm sure
I could be wrong about
that. Being a maggot and being able to look back in fondness on Slipknot in 40 years and going, when you're sitting around for a family lunch, you're going. Yeah. Back in my day, I saw pulse of the maggots at the gathering of the Juggalos.
I can't wait for my
shut up, Grandpa,
my grandkids
trying to eat space pussy.
My grandkids trying to eat space pussy and reading Corey Taylor lyrics to me and telling me that they're problematic by fucking 2050 whatever standards, and me sitting there going, what do you want me? No, they're fucking sick still wearing this shirt. I'm gonna be at that barbecue, motherfucker. Nice. Shall we check out what chat thinks of this? Adam says, I always laughed at the fans that would rock up to Big Day Out in the mask and the boiler suit combo on a 30-degree day, even though Slipknot weren't playing. There was a guy who would always dress as Joey Jordison in Melbourne, who I remember seeing. Be a fan, express yourself, but it's 37 degrees. That's true. Nell, how you doing? At least I didn't miss much while you were gone. Nah, you were just in time. Volume 3 is S tier for me, Rid says. It feels like Slipknot are finally starting to step away from the edgy people equal shit stage into a stage where they are able to discuss something more personal to them, but still keep that heavy aspect and new feel. Matthew says, Vermilion is a very well-written song.
It is. That 4/4 section amongst the 6/8 everywhere else is, it really resonates with me every time. I really love that.
New prog, finally.
Well, wow, 4/4 is prog now for new metal.
Vermilion is good. Vermilion Part 2 is 1,000% better, Rid says. I don't know. I really like both of them. I kind of like them for different reasons.
I think they complement each other.
Yeah. And it feels like it's a little baffling seeing the track listing and going, wait, part 2 comes, 2 or 3 tracks after part 1? Why is there a part 2 to this song? And then you hear it and you go, this is really lovely. This feels really heartfelt, and where it sits, it offers a respite from the intensity of the rest of the album. It's really masterful.
I always agreed with you, Rids, but over the last week I found a real appreciation for the original, for part 1.
Yeah. Duality, Vermilion, Part 2, Pulse of the Maggots, Before I Forget, Nameless Songs, and the Nameless are songs I'll still spin to this day.
Yeah, I feel a lot of these songs make the earlier tracks redundant. They do what, say, Pulse of the Maggots is the Heretic song, but better.
Yeah. That's actually a really... that's
when I say better, it's all so subjective. But
I know what you mean, though. Yeah. I think I didn't appreciate this album nearly this much before revisiting for this. I thought I was going to rank this probably B, because previously I've never really sunk my teeth into it. I think when I was getting into this record, it was around the time that I was probably 16 and really enjoying Iowa and the self-titled album's aggression and the edgy, angsty qualities of it. And this kind of didn't have that as much. It felt more musically involved and less knuckle dragging, so I didn't appreciate it as much. But this time, as an adult, I feel no shame in rating this album high.
I agree. It treads a real nice line between how edgy it is and it doesn't overstep its bounds.
Yeah, and I think it manages to have a slightly raw sound that harkens back to the first album without being shit, as you would say.
I would, in fact.
Matthew says Opium of the People has an amazing breakdown. Rich says no puns. Are they all but dead memories at this point? You're right. Yeah, we did go a while without puns there.
Thanks for bringing them back.
Blister exists of this band on my... The blister exists of this band on my life. Well done, Matthew. God damn it. I think it's time to say goodbye to... Fuck me! To the puns. I'm not reading.
Puns are becoming nomadic.
No. You understand my pain? No!
These are so weak. That sounds like a live
fucking garbage. We might have to insert coin to get more puns. Fuck me dead. I will read this one, though. Before I forget, Mushroom Head is redonkulous. They are. They are a stinky band that I would love to spring on you at one point, but I don't like them enough to subject myself to their discography.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, that's all right. Shall we move on?
Yes.
I am keen to get on with what's next because All Hope Is Gone comes out, and this is the album, much like yourself, I think you said that this was the album that you saw them on tour with.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see them tour this album, but this was the album where I was in on the ground floor.
Yeah.
I picked this up day it came out. Got fucking special edition with the DVD.
Yeah, I grabbed the same. I did the same.
And the bonus tracks and
release day.
Yeah, I felt like such a real fan. And at the time, I really loved it. I was just reveling in being a fucking real maggot because I was in on the ground floor for this one. Listening to it this week, I think this album has some S-tier material, some A-tier material, but I think the back half of this album almost drags it down into a D-tier list.
Whoa!
I rate this at a C.
Wow.
With the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
And a greater appreciation for everything else they've put out. I think let's have a look at the track listing because I need to get specific with this
please.
shit.
Yeah.
I think the first half of this album is cool. I think Execute is a really cool album intro. Gematria has some really cool breakdowns, some cool death metal stuff going on. I like Sulfur just fine. It's a cool single. Psychosocial is just a titan of a heavy metal track.
Yeah, I compare it to the Enter Sandman of post-2000s.
I think that's a really apt comparison, and I share the sentiment. Dead Memories starts to sound a little Stone Sour too, but I still like the song. Then Vendetta comes in and has a really weird, kind of weak, in my opinion, breakdown that they bring back at the end that I don't appreciate. And then Butcher's Hook, Gehenna, This Cold Black, Wherein Lies Continue, all stinky, dude. Like that section of the album smells like a fucking Knotfest attendee who's been on the barrier for the entire festival. And they're very proud of that fact. And good for them. I'm proud of them too. But wash, motherfucker, before you speak to me. And then Snuff comes in and is a really lovely track. And All Hope Is Gone is a just welcome because it gets in and gets out and ends the album. Because by then I'm just confused and scared. but I think by then the wind has been taken out of my sails by those 5 tracks, and I think they are. I mean, they're capable of better. On every other album, I think they prove themselves capable of better. Yeah, naff.
C for naff.
C for knaff. I want to hear your thoughts, baby.
This one is an A for not a naff. That doesn't work.
Not a naff for that?
Yeah, it's the least Slipknot album. There is no Slipknot album that sounds less Slipknot than All Hope Is Gone. A for All Hope Is Not Gone.
There we go. I was hoping you'd get there. I was like,
he's going to do it.
The album starts with an A.
That's what I had. It was like the only note I had for this album, but I didn't make it. I was under the pretense that this album had a bad back half, and I couldn't be more glad to be proven wrong. I couldn't be more glad to be
deaf
proven
motherfucker.
wrong.
All right, no, go on. I want to hear. Maybe you'll.
Yeah, maybe if.
Maybe you'll make me reapproach this album, because at this point I have no plans. I will revisit Iowa before I revisit this album in full.
Right. This is my favorite Slipknot record. Not just because of nostalgia, but because it doesn't have. It's not gimmick laden. It is the only album that isn't laden with gimmicks, and gimmicks that take away or give. I guess I feel like the gimmicks are band-aids for this band, and this has no band-aids. If you take away all of the gimmicks that are present in Iowa, you're left with very mediocre tracks. It relies on the gimmicks to get its message across.
The gimmicks in. Let me just to clarify, just so it's clear in my mind. The gimmicks in Iowa are the reliance on cursing, the edginess, the darkness. A lot of the electronic elements that serve as textural, but aren't integral to the song structure. They don't feel in service.
Well,
they aren't just being there.
They aren't servicing the song structure.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you look, I'll say in terms of the song structure and what the key components of a song are.
Okay.
And anything textural is not in terms of composition. Not it's not a part of the composition.
Sure.
In its like building blocks.
Sure. And a follow-up question. What are the gimmicks? What would you say the gimmick in Volume 3 is?
They still have those gimmicks. They incorporate them into the song structure.
Okay.
In partially the same way that their self-titled does. Stuff like surfacing.
Yeah, sure.
Has a gimmick hook, but it's the hook. It's integral to the song. You can't have surfacing without all the strange elements. Yeah. Like that is the song. And
I would say the same about the start of
according to the DNA of the track.
You can't start Eyeless without the record.
I feel like in
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and
here,
doesn't
it doesn't have any of that. It's just
I get to
working with
I'm
more.
on
It's
board,
more minimalist.
in
that sense, but not minimalist in they're trying to work with as little as possible. They're just not cramming the whole fucking kitchen sink in.
Yeah,
and
I do recall reading,
it services the maturity and it services replayability.
A review at the time
and it keeps it less dated.
Okay, I recall reading a review at the time that mentioned the DJ scratches are kind of here, but they're not really front and center. They're just kind of on top of the tracks, or they're there because they have a DJ in the band, not because there needs to be. I'd
agree. Yeah, the songs work without it.
I think they cited that as a negative, or like it feeling a little less. I mean, exactly what you said, less Slipknot.
Yeah, and like the songcraft is here. They don't need it.
Yeah, sure.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, okay.
And if they want to put it on top more, they can. The songcraft is here. So
tell me,
it can stand on its own 2 feet.
Sell me on the fucking back half of this album, dude.
Certainly.
Sell me on Vendetta through to Wherein Lies Continue.
Yeah, Vendetta, Butcher's Hook, Gehenna are all great tracks. I really, really think they're solid additions to the album. I think they're all very welcome, and I think they're all.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't certain.
Never
I wasn't certain
me.
on Vendetta and Butcher's Hook. Going back to them, I was glad to be proven wrong.
Wow, I never connected with those tracks as a kid.
I didn't either.
They were always my least
them.
favorite tracks, and coming back to them this time, I didn't feel any differently.
I think This Cold Black and Wherein Lies Continue don't need to be on the album. I don't think so. But Snuff and All Hope Is Gone are a beautiful duet closer.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I do think All Hope Is Gone is impressive for just how bleak and heavy it sounds without falling back into the Iowa levels of edge, I guess.
Yeah. Rids, sell me all of them. They're great tracks. Fucking sold.
Can you specify anything that they do for you? That
they add a death metal band to the album that shows the technicality of the band that you see in Volume 3 as well. A lot of the songs early on, or stuff like The Nameless, where it has a bit more of a almost like a Cannibal Corpse or a like a traditional death metal element to it, but with a more modern polish. And I feel that in some of these tracks, and I really like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I really dig it.
We should listen to some.
I find it's a far more traditional song structure, and I guess that's why it's less Slipknot.
Yeah.
But it's more me.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. Let's have a look.
The only thing that stops this album from being an S, again, I don't know if I could give this one a glowing recommendation either.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it does falter a little towards the back end, but nowhere near to. I was surprised how little it did.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Let's see what chat thinks. Bianca says Snuff still gives me goosebumps. Snuff is the best, says Matthew. Yeah. Hearing Snuff live, I was lucky enough to catch them in Melbourne was it I've got a fucking t-shirt in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely picture of me and Havoc wearing Slipknot t-shirts at that gig. I can't remember. Really cool. I can't recall what year it was, but according to Setlist FM, if that's anything to go by, that was the first time they'd performed Snuff since 2009. I guess since Paul passed away. And they performed that as like a first encore, and then went into second encore of more heavy upbeat stuff. But that was really special. Let's see what else we got here. Adam says, I really like the acoustic version Corey did with Jim. Is better than the album of Snuff or of what? Sorry.
Which
says,
are you talking Snuff?
Matthew says the bluegrass version of Psychosocial on YouTube is cool.
And points for, I guess it isn't relevant to ranking the album, but massive points to Psychosocial for being a meme powerhouse.
Absolutely. The mashups. Rids, All Hope Is Gone is A tier. Was chatting with Luke last week, wondering if the Bloodstone mix counts for the album, because that was essentially a make or break for me. Never got into this when it came out, so going back to it now, I enjoyed my time with it. There's some really fucking stinky shit on this album. Sulphur at the front gave me an idea of what to expect. We talked about this on Saturday. I really like Sulphur.
Sulphur rules.
Yeah.
Once again, it has a bit more of that death metal band.
Yeah, totally. And then it kicking into the chorus. Sorry, that verse riff after that.
I think it's in the guitar. The death metal band is in the guitar work.
Yeah.
This is a very guitar-centric album.
Yeah.
And obviously that's going to resonate with me.
Yeah, Guitar Boy.
Yeah.
It's purely an A tier for me because of Dead Memory, Snuff, All Hope Is Gone, and the Bloodstone mix of Vermilion.
Bloodstone mix is peak Vermilion for me, but it doesn't count as its own, the deluxe edition.
Yeah. Brandon says All Hope Is Gone, sufficiently low. Good. Genuinely don't have much to say about this album, says Rids. Incubus utilised the DJ very well, says Matthew.
Good one.
People popping off about the Psychosocial remixes. Let's have a look here. Ethan, thank you for chiming in. Very curious to hear your thoughts on the earlier picks. I feel like I haven't heard enough of you.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I share that that sentiment as well. He's saying All Hope Is Gone is one of the only albums I don't recommend to people, but singles off the album I do. Yeah. I like, for any Slipknot fan, that would be the norm. Yeah,
for sure. F, says Matthew. Are you ranking this album F?
I wonder if that's F out of respect or if that's an F for the album.
Or the most disrespectful
Or a disrespect,
F.
yeah.
The acoustic version of Snuff. It was Corey and Jim thing that came out. I'll chuck it in the Discord. Thank you, dude.
Okay.
Very cool. F for Paul. F for Paul, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Big F. And I mean, we got Snuff in areas right now.
Mm-hmm.
F.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Let's see what lies beyond Paul, because of course he passed away. Do you remember at all like where you were when that happened, or when you heard that news? I was in a class with some friends and
yeah, I would have been the same. Yeah, it would have been the same. And I went, Paul who? I didn't really care for who the bassist of Slipknot was. I didn't have any understanding of what he did for the band.
Yeah.
And also, I've never known many of the band members' names because they carry personas on stage.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't understand the weight of what it would mean for the band or for the community, the metal community, because they are, they're faceless characters.
Yeah, that's
so.
fair. Yeah.
I didn't understand at the time what that meant for people.
Yeah.
I do now.
That's fair. Yeah. Just a couple more comments coming in. Ethan says, I've been silent for a good reason. I don't have smart boy things to say. Slipknot's been one of my favourite bands of all time. Support them always. They inspired me to do what I want to do. But me, Cave Boy, I like clang noise and riff. Yeah, riff go brew and keg go clang, which is a point in their favour for me. At school in the morning, Havoc was so upset. Was at school in the morning, was crushed. Stuff still makes me sad.
Yeah. It is a real heavy one.
It is heavy.
It is.
Real beautiful track.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Content warning for this track, to be honest.
Yeah, true. In fact, next. Point 5, the Grey Chapter. Comes out in 2014. Sees the introduction of 2 new members because Joey Jordison is out. And it was Jay Wine something or other. I've forgotten his name. Let's have a look.
It's so sad, the Jordison situation. I really like no one wins out of that, dude. It's horrible. It's really horrible. Fuck MS, dude.
Yeah,
Dreadful.
absolutely. I live with my mother has it. It's no fucking fun.
It's horrible.
That's one of my fears is something coming between me and my instrument or my passions, and that must be crushing. So Alessandro Venturella on bass and Jay Weinberg on drums join the fray. Jay Weinberg? Yes. And sees them go back to sounding more like Slipknot, I would say.
Yes, unashamedly, undoubtedly. Feel like they would have, looked at their direction and they would have owed it to themselves to pay tribute. And
pay tribute they do. This album, from the start, it has a very somber tone. The intro track and then the first 30 or so seconds of Sarcastrophe feel like this kind of funeral dirge before exploding into the first track proper. And then we get some really cool aggressive stuff. AOV, Approaching Original Violence, is one of my favorite tracks of theirs. To find tracks that hit that hard for me this late in their career, and especially on what is arguably a comeback album.
It was 6 years between release.
Yeah. And 6 years of uncertainty as to when or whether or not a new album was going to come out. So I was really thrilled to have a new Slipknot. And at the time, I remember my first listen of this being kind of like having to readjust my expectations because my expectations were so not high. I didn't know what to expect from this album. So
it was definitely the strangest part of their career.
Yeah,
when the singles came out, was people going, What's the audio direction of this?
Yeah, because you get they put the negative one out first, and that's like, oh, okay, it's sounding like old Slipknot.
Yeah, very raw and
raw
really
and
angry,
fucking angry.
Yeah.
He's saying fuck again, and that's great. And then The Devil and I comes out, and it's like, oh, this sounds more like something that would be on
All Hope Is Gone.
And then Custer comes out, and you're like, I'm getting mixed messages here, honey. Ultimately, this album makes for an A for me. I spent a lot of time with this album. It's an hour and 3 minutes long, but it flies by for me, honestly. I think the tracks stay consistently interesting for my ears, and I think the way this album flows, again, I find the minutes ticking by without me noticing. I'm not conscious of time passing when I put this record on. I find it really easy to slip into. I would say that in some ways maybe it feels a little safe. Maybe in terms of it's not really doing anything new. It doesn't feel like it's pushing their sound forward. It feels like they're regaining their footing, maybe.
They are looking backward or maybe sideways at best.
They're looking, so I'd say sideways. Or just re-establishing themselves, getting the new guys kind of into the groove. And I think it makes for a really good album, all things considered. This could have been a stinker, and I'm really glad that it's not. And it has, there's not a track on here that I don't enjoy. The only reason I don't rank it at an S is because I think, again, I feel it lacks a sense of direction overall, and it doesn't have that X factor that we talked about earlier. Yeah, that sense of urgency just isn't there for me. It's at this point in their career, they're Slipknot, of course. People are going to buy their records, like they have an established fan base.
It is a very middling in tempo.
Yeah, it feels like the first three records especially, each one feels like their lives are on the line in some respect, that they've put everything they had into this album, and this just feels like, oh, sick, new Slipknot, upon listening to it. I don't know. It's all very intangible, but for me, it places it in A. Still, fucking respectable A. I really like this record.
Yeah. To me, it's far more clear what the intent is here, and it feels really cohesive and makes sense in their career.
I would say this feels like the most cohesive, one of the most cohesive records of theirs.
Yeah. To me, it makes absolute sense why the record sounds this way. I don't expect it to do anything new, and I wouldn't expect it to do anything new. I'd expect it to go back to a past form and clone a previous album. This album does not do that. Yeah. It does something new. It does something that no album's done before. It takes the old Slipknot sound, runs it into a new production, into a modern production, and we are in a high-fidelity era of Slipknot with low-fidelity songwriting. It doesn't work. And that's... or does it? I don't know. I've spun this album alongside Iowa. This is the record that I've spun the most, and I am very confused and conflicted. So this is a C for conflicted. It's also the album with the most growth to go upwards, up the ranks. Really, this could be a B, but it feels... I couldn't justify putting this above the self-titled. So this B is a no man's land right now. I will go back to this record, but not because I'm going to spin it out of enjoyment. I'm going to spin it out of C for curiosity. I want to like this record more than I do. And I feel like I haven't tapped what this record is about yet. And it's the first time in their career that I want to know what makes them tick. Because they're doing their anger with retrospection. And there's such a sense of grief through this record.
Absolutely.
That it is rife.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're listening to Let's right now. That chorus, "No one is bulletproof."
The start of this song is so fucking embarrassing, dude.
Oh, really? I love it.
No,
it's tough, dude.
No, sweetie, no.
Yeah, man, I'm all about it.
No, motherfucker.
Yeah.
What are we? Oh God.
Tough.
No. That's some. It starts off as fucking Matt Jekyll, dude. Is what it does.
Matt Jekyll?
Motherfucker.
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Okay. That's one for the Matt Jekyll fans.
I'm seeing some real hate in there. Yes.
Luke is cancelled. Luke is wrong. We'll get to your comments, chat.
Yeah,
thank you, though. We appreciate it.
Go on, keep baby raging for your baby band.
I would say the only points in this album that I'm a little on are Devil in Eye and Kill Pop. Because they feel like the safest numbers on this album for me. They feel like they're they're the singles. They're the guaranteed radio hits. That's the stuff that people will. That's the most accessible, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just as far as their accessible material goes, I don't rank it as high as something like Dead Memories or Sulphur.
I wish more of this album was like Goodbye into Nomadic.
I was gonna say that transition is fucking tits, dude.
That's 9 minutes of album. If they did that, this would be an S tier album.
Yeah.
I would rave about this album. That is an incredible journey. I'm sort of shocked that they're different songs because they feel like they have this synergy that is I think it's some of the cool stuff in their catalog.
Yeah, the drum roll and then cuts out and then fucking oh my god.
I can't sing the praises for the back end of this album. I don't like the Custer. I don't really like the Negative One. And I feel like they posit them as some of the highlights of the album. It doesn't do it for me. Letch is really fucking embarrassing. We're back to dude. Come on, you're a grown ass man, motherfucker. No,
can't be stopped. You keep trying.
Can't be stopped.
Can't be.
No, well, maybe I don't need him to stop. He brings plenty of he brings me plenty of entertainment.
Yeah.
So
leave
please,
Corey alone. I will say,
I think it's a pretty weak start to the album as well. It's the midsection that really gets me.
Yeah, I think the first 3 tracks I really like. Devil and I and Kill Pop I kind of snooze a little bit on.
I enjoy.
Skeptic I wish I liked more because it's the tribute to Paul. That feels a little embarrassing. The phrase "crazy motherfucker" repeated
very clever
ad nauseum feels a little like
there's so much motherfucker on this record.
Volume 3 shows that he's capable of a little more poetry than that, and and I mean the track "Goodbye" is beautiful and a really lovely send off. I don't need Skeptic.
I suppose this isn't Corey Taylor. This is Corey Taylor's Slipknot character.
Yeah.
This is his Slipknot persona.
Which number is he? I think he's number 9.
He's
number
8.
9. He's 8?
Corey Taylor's 8.
Oh, that's right, because one of them's 0.
Yeah. So I suppose he isn't being Corey Taylor. He's channeling something else inside him. Yeah. So I can understand that. I don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me go, oh, that's makes it all fine. It's all valid.
That's fair.
But I can understand the argument.
Yeah. I really like the back half of this album from Lech onwards. I'm really on board here. I like Custer and the Negative One because I like Slipknot doing their old school thing, but part of me does feel a little bit like it feels easy, maybe.
I know. To me, it doesn't work in.
I just kind of go. I feel like it feels
fidelity.
No, it feels like they're trying to recapture something that they've grown out of.
Yeah, they're trying to recapture lightning in a bottle, but lightning doesn't strike twice.
No, they don't. They don't need to. I don't think. I think the rest.
No,
of
I don't think they need to either.
I think maybe. Yeah, look, I really like the one that kills the least. That's one of my favorite tracks, to be honest. And I think If Rain Is What You Want is a really cool album closer. But the thing is, Custer and the Negative One feel like the most Slipknot tracks on the album. So of course,
that's why I don't want them.
They've become live staples.
Yeah.
And I'll boog to them.
The sampling does nothing for me. It's
putting my thoughts out there.
The sampling worked better when it was low fidelity for me. This album could move to an A given time, and I will re-listen to this album and work out what makes it tick.
Yeah, I was gonna rank this at a B, but honestly, just based on personal enjoyment and the amount of time I've spent with this album, it deserves an A in my personal books. Let's have a look at what chat thinks. Nell says, Devil in I is a good song. That's on this album. Fucking A it is. Grey Chapter is S tier for me. It was the first album I was finally a fan of Slipknot for a release, and every song on this album slaps for me. Nice. Grey Chapter was a Corey and Jim Root special, doing the majority of the writing for this album. Okay. Well, maybe Jim should have had a bit more of a hand in the lyrics. That's so bitchy. I'm so sorry. That's the tea. No. I'm so sorry. That was cunty as. I saw an opportunity for a cheap a cheap thrill, and I took it. I don't believe that. From start to finish, I'll dance and drum and sing along. Kill, Pop, and Goodbye are placed perfectly. Skeptic, Nomadic, and the one that kills the least are super beautiful and amazing to listen to. Custer go brr, and it's sick for it. It do go brr. And having seen them live twice... Oh, no, sorry. What do you think? Yeah, twice on this album.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
Those tracks are fucking good fun live. Would recommend giving this album a re-listen if you've only listened to it when it first came out, says Ethan. Good point. Rid says, this is the only Slipknot album I keep coming back to in full. I think this is, like, one of the easiest albums of theirs to listen to in full.
Outside of them turning the fucking snare wires off again. Oops.
I'm not hearing it. Snare go bro.
You don't hear the snare wires off on this album? Through a good portion of this album, the snare wires are turned off again.
No, I didn't notice it.
I don't understand why, especially now that it's in high fidelity. It makes it even worse.
Okay.
I don't understand why they do that.
Adam says, I love the opening to Ledge. Yeah. Matthew says, it felt like a Death Magnetic-like album. Hate to compare them to Metallica again, but the discography is kind of similar.
It's reasonable. They have a similar trajectory through member loss and grievance and return. And I guess not trying to return to form, but a reflection of who they are / were.
Yeah,
in their music.
Like less a return to form, more a return to the fray. Like they're back.
Yeah.
Bianca says, I have vivid memories of hearing Custer and Devil and I at Soundwave in 2015. I have such a love for Joey Jordison that I was almost sour that he wasn't there, but I loved it just as much as when I saw them in 2000.
Beautiful.
Nice. Luke, definitely not long for this world. Fuck me dead. Ethan says, I'm a spew and ban everyone. Ethan, no! Death Magnetic was great. IMO, by the way, Matthew. We agree. We started this series with a Metallica episode that is on YouTube.
Go find it on YouTube.
And we had good things to say about Death Magnetic. Rid says, it's so good, get fucked, Luke. Luke is cancelled. Luke is wrong. We got a bunch of baby rage.
Rages. Yeah.
Kill Pop feels like Vermilion Part 3 to me. I think that's why I kind of don't like it. You did Vermilion and you did Vermilion Part 2. Do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes. He'll never be stopped. He'll never stop stopping. Connor says, I do like the Pit for Custer. The Pit for Custer is very good.
I don't understand
and Jim,
Custer.
they did this together. Yeah. Don't just blame a god. Blame the muse. No one raindrop thinks it caused the flood. What? Didn't you say that the other day?
He did.
Yeah. Which is super weird after the Stone Sour fallout. Yeah, isn't that? I thought that was strange. Sounds like a skeptic of this album.
Yep, there it is.
Connor is also cancelled. Why am I cancelled? Still annoyed Metallica cancelled and I missed out on seeing Slipknot. Yeah, a Metallica and Slipknot tour was coming to Australia that got postponed, not due to COVID, due to alcoholism. Moving swiftly.
And there's another tie-in between Metallica and Slipknot.
Yeah, they could have been drinking buddies. Come on. Let's Goodbye and Nomadic were the only tracks that Jim didn't assist in writing.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Well, we found why Stone Sour sucks. Jesus.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, chat. Shall we move on to the latest chapter?
Yes.
Away from the grey chapter.
Yeah, away from the grey chapter.
The grey chapter. We Are Not Your Kind. A Nails cover album, dude. Finally, it's come to this.
Yeah, they're back. They're modern again.
Now, I was curious where they were going to go from the grey chapter, and when I heard Unsainted, I was quite excited. I liked the chorus. I thought the use of choirs was something new and added a flavour that they hadn't really played with before, and I really liked it. I heard a few people at the time complaining that it sounded annoying and that they didn't like the sound of it. I really enjoy it. Then the album came out. They put out the next single they put out was Solway Firth.
Yes, they did.
Which is the last track on the album.
And they released... it was released as a live track, wasn't it?
No, it was a live video with studio audio.
Yeah.
But they released the first track on the album and the last track on the album. First track after the intro. And I was like, that's really strange. I've never...
I like it.
I don't see a lot of it, so I didn't know what to make of it. And it made me nervous because the last track on the album as a single, I was like, well, then is it that significant then? I like my final tracks to have a sense of finality about it.
Yeah.
And this didn't feel like it had a grand
Very
closing feel to it.
In fact, Unsainted has more of a
Yes,
closing feel than
yes.
Solway. And,
And Solway Firth as a song I found kind of unmemorable in terms of its... there didn't seem to be any big hook.
It's a riff machine.
Yeah.
It feels like a dog chasing cars.
Sure.
That's like...
What?
It's...
How? Explain how. Just before
because it's
Before
always
I go,
jumping.
I went
it's always
sure, and
jumping
then
from riff to riff.
Oh,
It doesn't know where it's headed next.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's running directionless for about 5.5 minutes. It's a pretty long song.
Yeah, no, that's actually really nice. I like that image. And then the album came out, and I listened to it, and I didn't really like it very much. I didn't go back to it until reviewing it for this. At the time, I groaned. I rolled my fucking eyes looking at the track listing and seeing the length of the tracks. 6 minutes song after 6.5 minutes song. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And interludes, I'm not a huge fan of interludes, and the
Thank you so much,
the stuff that was on offer here felt particularly, I used the term earlier, farty, felt pretty farty to me. I don't know what I was after at the time, but it wasn't this. Coming back to it, I appreciated it a lot more. I placed this at a B, and it could pivot to an A, honestly. I think this is the most... this feels like it has a sense of focus and almost that sense of purpose that the first three albums had. I think it's the most focused album since the third album. And even though I look at the track listing and there's not so many tracks here that I would spin on their own, I do enjoy this album in an almost meditative kind of way. I really enjoyed setting aside an hour and 3 minutes. It's the same length as the Grey Chapter, but it felt infinitely longer on the first couple of listens for me. But coming back to it this time going, okay, it's an hour, switch off, do nothing, and just absorb this material, I found it really absorbing. I found it really
I think
compelling.
a part of that is due to there being three intermissions on the album. Or an intro track and two intermissions in that case. But.
Yeah, that could be it. I think, like, having said all this, I like my pain. You're making your pain my pain a little bit, rather. Again, in the context of the album, I can forgive it, and I think Orphan, the track that precedes it, is very intense, and then Not Long for This World kind of ups the intensity again, and it feels kind of Volume 3-esque, but I don't think it needs to be. It feels like a over 6.5 minute interlude track.
Yeah, it feels like a solo project.
It doesn't go anywhere that I'm interested in.
This is Sean's track, right?
It feels like a Sean track. I could be wrong though. But look, Sean lost a daughter in the lead up to this album and recording this album. So if this was his pain, I'll bear witness to it.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's been through a fuck ton of it. I could easily place this at an A, I think, with subsequent listens. I've really been, since that one listen where it kind of clicked, that like, oh, this feels like it's meant to be consumed as a whole. And I don't think their last two albums had that feel. The last two albums, you would recommend, tracks off it. This feels like it's meant to be consumed as a whole, and it feels like a more considered work of art than just we're Slipknot. Here's our Dead Memories. Here's our singles. Here's us repeating our greatest hits. Yeah, this feels like them kind of starting to push forward with this new lineup and as adults. And I don't think that. I think it returns also to Volume 3's lack of reliance on cursing and the edge factor. I don't think is here.
There are a lot more synthesized elements to this than than what is present in something like All Hope Is Gone or Volume 3, where it's their more mature material. This is blending many samples and many pieces of DJ work through it into its DNA.
It feels like a combination of
everyone feels like they're contributing quite a lot here. And it's quite cohesive.
Yeah, I think it feels like a combination of Volume 3 and Iowa. In terms of its overall darkness and it feeling like an album you can kind of wrap yourself in, which is a quality about Iowa that I really like. I've said that it's suffocating, but occasionally I like that. Joke me. But yeah, on this, I think I placed it at a B at time of recording, with plans to revisit it and hopefully find it pivoting to an A for me. Just because I frankly haven't spent enough time with it. Again, I didn't listen to it since it came out in 2019. So I didn't listen to it all last year, and I've only spent a week with it this week. So that's where I'm at.
You good, baby?
Yeah, baby.
See if you're clowning around. There's a lot of there's a lot of ambient work in here. I do agree with what you're saying about it being some of the more mature work, though. I consumed this album with many replays upon its release, and I felt it was very on again, off again. Coming back to the record, I really like the compositions, and I really like the album as a whole. Many songs that I didn't enjoy off my initial listening, going back to it, I feel like it's a really cohesive release, and it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, honestly, same here.
I'd say, I feel similarly about My Pain. But tracks that I didn't really rate, such as Critical Darling, Elias Funeral, I really, really like. I was surprised. To me, Nero Forte, Red Flag, Unsainted were the highlights, and Spiders. Spiders is so cool.
Fucking cool. Yeah, I really like Spiders.
They were like the four pillars holding this album up initially. And I still hold them as the best tracks on the album. But all the other pieces
it's a real
fit into
grower.
This jigsaw.
It's a real grower.
Why it's a C and not an A, which it would be otherwise, is because it's performed by Slipknot and it sounds like Slipknot. And I don't like the tones. I don't like the vocal performance. I don't really like the production goes more into the low fidelity. I think it works, and it's definitely by choice here. So I do like that, but the performances, the tones, the snares. Shit again. I wish this was performed by another band with the vision that this album has, but executed in a way that is more aesthetic to my ears. This feels very aesthetically unpleasing, and still the maturity that is in the songwriting is not in the performance.
You are not their kind.
I am not their kind.
You are not their kind. I had
they don't want me.
No,
I don't want them.
I had an inkling that would be the case. I was really hoping that you would get more out of this discography by some fucking miracle, but is what it is. Thanks for giving them a go. And this was fun, man. I'm glad to have your diatribe on Iowa on for the world to see.
D for diatribe.
And yeah, there we go. That was great fun. Do you have anything else to say about this album?
Yeah, certainly. I wish that B was not a barren no man's land. And I wish that S did not do the same. This feels very strange to construct a tier list in this way, where there is such disparity between sections of their catalog. Typically, I would rate this as just relative. The albums are relative to one another, so surely something should, in theory, be sitting B or S. I can see kind of popping off to whatever's coming in chat. It's not good for me. This does not bode well for me. Cannot be stopped, dude.
Don't read it.
Don't read it. It'll hurt.
Don't look at chat. Keep going.
I really want to continue revisiting the latest two albums, and I feel like they can move up. But I'm doing it out of sheer curiosity and not because I want to listen to them. I feel like I need to listen to them to understand, and I feel like 1 week wasn't enough for these releases for me to truly understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
So those I will continue to spend time with. The rest, I feel like the first 4 albums of their catalog, I get.
Yeah.
And yeah, we know where we stand.
Yeah.
But these later ones, they have more to them. Yet there's untapped gold here, I want to find what that is.
That's cool. I think I'll come back to the Grey Chapter because I find it a really enjoyable listen. I'll absolutely be coming back to Volume 3 with more frequency. I have really slept on that one. I too will be coming back to We Are Not Your Kind out of curiosity and a little bit of excitement, just that I got something more out of the record this time than I did. I'd really written it off as just not for me. So it was good to it was like nice to come back and reaffirm, like, oh no, they are for me. I am their kind. All right, let's do it. Let's see what chat thinks of this album and Slipknot on the whole. Alcoholica.
Oh my god.
Don't forget All Out Life was a track. Yeah, that was a kind of stopgap between this album and the last.
Yes, All Out Life came out, and was there not? Did they? Am I false in thinking We Are Not Your Kind was also a
We Are Not
track?
Your Kind? No. We Are Not Your Kind is the chant in the breakdown of
All Out Life. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Which so is that was strange why confusing. It's not on the album.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad it's not, because it felt like another Custer or Negative One to me anyway. You
feel like there's no homers.
No homers. Yeah, no homers. This feels like they're going forward instead of looking back quite as much. Let's have a look here. I think I need more time on this album. Rid says, I loved it when it came out and then never thought about it again until next week. Ethan thinks that All Out Life should have been part of this album. Rid says, I enjoy the album. I think it's good. Haven't really settled on an idea of it yet, but I put it at B because it can go either way for me. Yep,
that's fair
enough.
That's fair.
That's a good one. Matthew, it's got to go. It's 4:30 a.m. Getting tired. Glad I found you guys in this community. Sub to your YouTube and we'll keep track. Thank you so much, Matthew, and thanks for the 100 bits.
Thank you so much. Rules. That's really, really kind.
Yeah, and, glad you got something out of this.
I'm looking forward to being able to interact in a more dynamic way very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging around and contributing.
Yeah, and hit us up on Discord too. We talk music in there as well. Night, Matthew. Have a great night. Brandon says, Connor, this is basically the most forgettable album for me. The whole album blends so much into one for me. Yeah, I think it's a grower. I think it's worth revisiting and setting aside an hour where you just focus on it and you can't have the songs blend into one quite as easily. Because I think if you're listening to this as a passive listen, it can do that for sure.
I felt that way about the full catalogue. I continually went from active listen to passive listen.
That's so strange. I find it so easy to discern which track I'm listening to, especially on those early albums. Like I've never thought of the first half of the Slipknot album, the self-titled album, doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, to me it really does. But I'm so intimately familiar with the first album that I initially conflated familiarity with enjoyment.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that you were struggling with that, or you were having to kind of reconcile that.
I thought I liked it more than I did.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And I was surprised. I was surprised. And it feels weird putting it at a C.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah. Connor says, so like the third album but diluted in regards to this album. I wouldn't say diluted. It may be like the third album but made by like men in their 40s or like however old they are. They've aged. They're not the same people. So it can't be the third album. It can't be Iowa. Yeah. Is this the first TDF with no S from Luke? No. You'll recall my last pick, Enter Shikari, didn't fare too fucking well either.
Well, stop picking bands.
Stop picking shit bands. Stop picking fucking shit bands. Yeah, not fair.
Look, you gotta, like, you're serving D's on a platter with Take to the Skies and Iowa. I owe an hour of my time.
Look, again, it's the point of the show is to agitate one another.
To antagonize,
yeah, to a degree.
Yeah.
Again, I hoped you'd get something out of both of those bands, and we had some commonalities here, but anyway.
This is the first time that we have not shared a single album in a single tier.
Yeah, usually we match up.
At least half,
Dragon Force
typically
was like ding, 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 ding for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Ethan says you're Yuggy, dude. It's not prog enough for him. Yeah, maybe.
Here's the thing. As a prog fan, I focus on the composition, not the performance. You will note that I rated the composition, but not the performance. So if I was to pick on anything from a prog mindset, it would be the way the songs are composed, not performed.
Of this album? I think Ethan was talking about Slipknot in general.
As a whole?
Yeah.
Their compositions don't hold up early, so that's fair.
Yeah.
But yes, that is where I'm coming from, definitely.
Yeah. Apparently new prog doesn't count. Saying it's... Wait. Saying it's because it's Slipknot means you're ranking the artist and not the art. They're inextricably linked.
They are.
Yeah.
And also
a point.
Yeah. What their visual components and everything that is Slipknot is a part of the art and is a part of the album. It's not just about what happens sonically.
Yeah, especially in this case. Like I think in something like in something like a prog, like a solo prog artist, or I don't know. I think there are other instances where you can maybe make that argument if you rank something low because of a personality within the band. But no, I try
to keep my my disposition towards certain members of Slipknot at bay for this ranking. And I didn't let it.
Corey Taylor jokes aside.
Yes. I'm sure you couldn't tell. It came out in Iowa, but yes, I'm not going to change it.
No.
The state is Iowa. This album is Iowa.
That's very funny.
That's what's happening here.
I really like that gag, by the way. The Iowa. What was it? Iowa
an hour of everyone's fucking time.
There you go. That's fucking
Good grief.
Funny. That's funny. Let's have a look here. So Luke wants this to be a vaporwave album. Okay, here's the comment. Brian says, criticizing the tone and 23 other lazy music reviewing tips.
But the tone is the most important part of. Yeah, I know he's going for low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you can't comprehend tone as an artist, then that's on you, not me.
I can't comprehend tone. I really can't. Like, even when you're pointing stuff out to me, I'm like, again, so I wish I could. I really wish I could. I feel like I'd have a better idea of perhaps why I like certain albums or what places certain albums above the rest if I did. But I just don't. It's never made sense to me. It may make sense to me one day. I endeavour to get better at this whole thinking about music stuff.
No, hey, I don't.
At the time of recording, this is who I am.
I don't critique lyrics. To me, the tone is the lyrical content. Is how the band communicates their emotional message or their message or their intent or their narrative is through the tone. For Connor, it's the lyrics. For me, it's the tone.
Sure.
They're a marriage, and they're just as important as one another. But this is my language. This is the language and the medium in which the band communicates to me, just as lyrics are for you.
Yeah, and occasionally you'll say things that kind of make sense to me, and I kind of cotton on to the other day. We were talking in the stream on Sunday about this, and Lucas mentioned in chat that he felt like there wasn't any melody on offer in Slipknot's music, so he quit after 2 albums. So I said, oh, wait, listen to the 3rd album. There's some melody there, and you were saying it's not melodic hooks, it's percussive hooks and harmonic hooks.
Yes, at times.
And I never made that distinction, but that feels like a very important distinction to make.
Yep. Even if they are, if the melodic hooks that are there in the first 2 albums. As I was saying, because there's no harmony for them to anchor off, they're just sort of they're floating and detached, and they don't have a point of relativity to the rest of the track, and that's so important. Like, you have to synergize these elements in traditional songwriting. However, they incorporate non-traditional songwriting to, and when I say traditional, I'm talking about contemporary music writing in Western music, and they don't do that, which is absolutely a point in their favor. But it's not how I really enjoy ingesting music.
Yeah. Adam says, Luke's review, Slipknot are consistent. Yeah, I guess so. Consistently just not your thing, which is fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we have an understanding.
Yeah.
And like this is, I feel like their mission statement is I'm not for them. And that's cool. No worries.
Eden says, I'm of the understanding Luke is only ranking Iowa for the bit. I don't think that's the case. Were you here for his shtick earlier? No shtick. That was real, dude.
This was
that was as like vitriolic as the album itself. I was getting off on it, dude.
There was no script for this one.
I was ready to start.
So I was just
throwing elbows to myself, just like, yeah, it is shit. This album equals shit. I was fucking hype off that. Spider's intro is so good. I do agree. Spider's is sick.
Fantastic.
Did that not have an S? I don't remember that. Yeah, no, it didn't. Query for Luke. You tend to rank the popular titles, not just Slipknot, at a lower rank. Do you think, rather than enjoying it, you look for errors to criticize it, and maybe it's too much critical thinking?
To review something and saying that you're looking for errors? Yes, I'm reviewing something. What is this question? Yes, I'm looking at all of the facets that I do and don't enjoy. Otherwise, I would not be reviewing it. That's such an important part. What if I was just reviewing it for its positive aspects? I'd work for IGN.
All right, now he's pulled me into it, like film critics, filthy film critics. Yeah, all right, motherfucker. No.
That's the reason that I love being able to do this and not working for somebody as a reviewer. We've both done that in the past.
Yeah.
Like worked under other companies for the purposes of review.
Yeah.
And to not be able to speak your mind, it undermines the purpose of a review.
Yeah, I would say, if anything, I like hearing your thoughts on the more widely accepted good albums or the really popular albums, because again, I'm coming to this very, very biased. I've drunk the fucking Kool-Aid. I'm a maggot. I like hearing, again, I said at the start of this, I don't see the inherent flaws of these, especially the earlier work, as flaws. If they're there, let's say, if there are inherent flaws in it, which I think you made some good points. It won't affect my enjoyment. But yeah.
Like you were saying, regarding how large and ubiquitous Slipknot are, because they are one of Roadrunner's biggest exports and one of the biggest bands in metal history. I think it's already accepted that they are a good outfit. I don't need to gush over the merits of them because that's already been done 1,000 times before. And I think it's accepted that there are many elements that many people find good, so I don't need to reiterate all that. I am definitely more of I do have a negative bias on reviewing, and that is something maybe I should focus on to keep that in track. Maybe I should check myself and try and keep a more level head and try and balance out positive and negative critique.
I think you usually offer some positive critiques on things. You said some positive things about Iowa. Not to you're a big boy. I'm just thinking out loud.
No, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
I'd love and it's always time for introspection as well.
Yeah, so, totally.
Perhaps.
Let's have a look here. Buckethead is a great guitarist, but I won't listen to or enjoy it because of the gimmick of him wearing a bucket on his head ruins the songs for me.
Well, welcome to 9 Bucketheads. The band.
As a prog fan, phrases you can smell. What does that smell like, Brian? I want to hear. Luke aims low, chat finds a way to aim lower. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a chat made flesh.
I was here for it, but I still think it's a bit until I get sources and news articles written by uni graduates.
These are not peer reviewed. This is a singular Singular source.
That's funny. Being a reviewer and a critic are not the same thing. What do you mean by that, Brian? I'm not sure I get that. What does that mean?
I'm curious to hear Brian's angle as well.
Yeah. Let's get the poll going. Let's get the poll going while we get Brian's explanation of whatever the fuck that meant.
How critics are not reviewers kind.
Luke or Connor? I want that fucking belt, dude.
Well, chat, will you give
poll.
Connor the service?
I want it. More like P reviewed. Damn it.
Is it going to be CMFO, cannot be stopped?
This was a really lovely episode, actually. Thanks, Rids. Yes, all the discussions, dude. I think so too, Ethan. Thank you for being a part of it, and thanks for giving us some shit to
finally get some distinct differences from you both. Yeah, well, there was in that sense, it's a great pick.
Yeah. I mean, again, I had
Connor's last two picks have been distinct differences.
You say you mentioned perhaps having a negative bias going into reviewing not just this but things in general. Would you say, or music in general, or?
I would say so, and it's something I should endeavour to improve.
Yeah, I think,
but
I think I occasionally have a negative bias
because it's absolutely done out of love. But
yeah. I have the same.
But it's
thing.
sort of a bit.
I think with this, I have a more of a positive bias because, frankly, I don't. For a lot of it, I don't really know what I'm talking about. So it's easy to just go, I really like this, and kind of try to intellectualize why I like it when it may just be because riff go brr, keg go clang. But when it comes to, I think, movies, I tend to have a bit more of a negative bias to things because that's something that I've put the time and effort into trying to understand what makes something good and what makes something bad. So I scratch at it.
Yeah, totally. Like the illusion is absolutely shattered in...
I know how the sausage is made, dude.
Exactly. So I think it's slightly
I don't want to eat the sausage anymore. I want to open it up and fucking look at it. Sorry, I was holding Metal Warhammer while Superglue dried. Good for you, Brian.
Thank you.
Let's have a look. I'm with Connor. No idea what I'm talking about. Just a basic bitch who likes my music no matter the genre except country. And it's a sound that makes me angry. See, I've heard some country stuff that I quite like the sound of as well, but I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, who voted for Luke?
So it's not about out of curiosity who voted for Connor.
I'm curious too, to be honest. Looking at the Luke did.
My hands are here. My hands are here.
Hiding that belt. That's what they're doing. Define country though. Yeah, true. See, again, it's a genre I'm so unfamiliar with. It may have been me. Dag!
Hey, go Dag! Yeah, baby!
How dare you? I hate yeehaw old good old boy country. Okay, there's different genres. Country and western, of course, both kinds. Oh, cool. Band.
Oh, no, Dag, they're banned.
I've yet to be convinced on Slipknot is all. Oh, fair enough. See, Dag, I thought Slipknot would be right up your alley for some reason. That's crazy.
I can feel that. Yeah. The industrial elements and the edge.
Yeah.
How is this not Dag brand?
Alrighty. 86% of the vote goes to your boy. So...
Take it, you filthy animal.
Gladly. Look at that, chat. Look what your boy earned. With his correct subjective opinions.
That's what it does.
That's the premise of the show.
Is it blind?
USA. Okay, so I'm really curious how you're going to fire back and attempt to win this puppy back from me, baby.
All right. Well...
how do you follow this, man?
How do I follow this? Well, I was real tempted to follow this up with some news that came out. The rumor come out less than 24 hours ago with Daft Punk, but I feel like there may not be enough albums, unfortunately. And I don't think it would be a large enough catalogue for us to really digest. I really want to do that, but I thought there was a runner-up pick to the community vote that got me quite excired. And I thought, let's not wait another month, because I thought it was an excellent recommendation. And I feel like we both have a lot to learn, and we have our own backgrounds with this band. And I thought it'd be a real neutral point as well. So,
a shaking of the
shaking of the hand for Parkway Drive, our Byron Bay boys,
okay.
Australian homegrown.
Our first Australian entry.
Absolutely.
Fucking stumbled on the name of my own fucking country. Australia! Wow.
Yeah.
Good day. All right, cool.
Yeah, so
I'm really
thanks for
excited
the recommendation for that one, Chad. I thought we should not wait and we should hit that.
Yeah, look, honestly, I was
from the
hoping
front,
you were
back
going to
and
say
the-
that
yeah,
and
on the
not
sides.
AC/DC because it cannot be
I'd
fun.
be like, and we're doing death grips.
Yeah.
That's going to take a month to get through. Like to give it a no, that'll take a day. Yeah, just play all the albums at once.
It's the same thing.
Where's the one drumming?
All right. Well,
Yeah, Death Grips is quite tense.
all right.
Forget that. It'll take a while. But yes, Parkway Drive. I'm very excited for this one.
Me too.
I think there's a lot that we both already have in our history with the band,
Yeah.
coming from different places, if I recall.
Yep.
It's a band we haven't discussed in great detail.
No.
And I'm sure there's a lot we can both revisit and find material that did resonate with us and no longer does, or the
Yeah.
other way around.
Yeah. And I'm excited. I'm sure plenty of people in chat would feel the same way about Parkway. Let's just have a look here in chat before we sign off. You put the self-titled album in S, Connor. They weren't all correct. Ignoring it, moving on. Keen as fuck. Hey, beautiful. All right, keen as fuck for this. Let's do it. All right, awesome. Parkway, try and stop me. Will you be as dedicated next week?
Nice. Hey,
I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. The puns have to stop. All right, thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks so
we had a
much.
ball with this, and this was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had as much fun.
A
watching
final
it.
question, Connor.
Please.
Did you gain more from this week's Tears Don't Fall in regards to your appreciation for Slipknot? Was it gained or lost?
No. I would say reaffirmed.
Yep.
Yeah, reaffirmed.
Good one.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, we'll wrap this up real quick, but I think having a band in like our generation, or a band that's been around. Sorry, my belt's slipping.
Dog.
Since the 90s, that has reached the status of Metallica and stuff is really cool. I think they're our generation's Metallica,
in many respects.
answer to Metallica, I think, in that way. So yeah, reaffirmed.
Beautiful. Nice.
Alrighty.
Cool.
Well, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week.
Mwah.